It is Cat with Creative Resin. Let me get things set up and we'll start. Okay. Put my gloves on. Ooh. Order some more of my favorite gloves. Anyway, this will be fun. All right. Let's get started, y'all. Today, we're gonna be talking about resin and fast curing and how to add color to your resin. I've seen a lot of questions about adding color, what it's for, how it reacts, what it does. And people are having issues with fast cure. So we're gonna tackle all that today. First, make sure you're doing all the YouTube things. Hit subscribe, like this video. At the end, leave me a comment. What is one thing that you learned that you didn't know? Or something that you have more questions about, and I'll help you best that I can. So while I start talking, I'm using Stone Cold Art Coat. It has no VOCs in it. So let's see here. I'm trying to find, work time with this is about 45 minutes. I can tell you that. Check your bottles because it will give you all the information that you need. If you don't find it on the bottle, look it up online. Your total cure time is dry to touch in 24 hours, and your total cure time for this is 72 hours for light use. That means if you make a coaster, you want to put, you know, a cup on it, okay, but I wouldn't put like a full cup of hot coffee or anything on it after 72 hours. It's fully cured within a week. That's the test. A week to 30 days, depending on which you're using. So, these are brand new bottles I have not opened yet. Let me get them open. And here's a tip, because I did this in the past. This one comes with different cap colors for, like, the hardener is a B, so it has a black cap. The resin is the part A and it's got a white cap. Sometimes if you open both of your resin bottles at the same time, you put the lid on the wrong bottle. That will give you problems because any residue here, any residue in the lid, you have now combined and caused it to cure. So this is what I do to avoid that. I only have one bottle of resin open at a time. Once I finish pouring my measurement for this, I put the cap back on before I even touch the other one. That way it prevents me from putting the wrong cap on the wrong resin. There's one of your bonus tips for the day. So, all right, I got that open. Let me get the other so we can get started. Did y'all watch the last video? What were your takeaways? Did you learn something that you didn't know before? All right, everything's open. Let me get my cups. And I'm gonna show y'all something that most people don't realize. Well, I can just use my cup here. I use clear cups, disposable cups. Super cheap. I buy them. You can wipe them out and reuse them, no problem. What I do is I have these 3-ounce bathroom cups that I can bend as a pouring spout that helps control resin when you're pouring it. Real good for blooms if you don't have a piping bag or a sandwich bag to use for that, you can use one of these and just crease it and pour your bloom that way, like Julie does. I learned this from Julie. Pour your heart out. She's a great one. So what I do is I also measure my resin. I fill it to just below the lip on both cups. So part A will be here, part B will be here. I don't have to measure in a lined cup and say, oh, is this right? Is this perfect? No. As long as you have equal amounts, part A, part B, you're good. I've never had a problem doing it like this. Just remember, it's equal amounts is not weight. You do not use weight when measuring this because your hardener is heavier than your resin and it will throw off your proportions. You won't be happy because you'll have some sad resin. So what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna mix up a cup and I'm gonna show you how to add the colors into the resin. And we're just gonna play around. No biggie. I have a plastic spatula I use to measure. All right, done. And I'm going to wipe off my lid before I put the cap back on. All right, done with B. Now we're gonna pour A. I'm gonna set B out of my way. Now I'm going to pour A. And it's thicker because it's the hardener. Now you see why it weighs more. These gloves are slippery. All right, done. Gonna put this back on. All right, now I prefer pouring my resin in the cup first because it's not thick. I just scrape it out, scrape my spatula on the side, and I'm just gonna hand mix this. I'm not gonna use my electric mixer. Like I said, this resin, the art coat, has a 45-minute work time, so you have plenty of time with this. So you don't need to rush. This is why I tell beginners not to use a fast cure or a quick cure or a 4-hour demold, however they phrase it. Because your work time with that product is about 10 minutes. Once you start stirring, you're on the clock. And trust me, you think 10 minutes is a long time? It really isn't. So I say don't use a fast cure or a quick cure, even though it's very tempting because we want to see our projects, you know, a lot quicker and faster. I say don't do that. Now, you see how it looks? It's all globby. So we're gonna mix it until it's clear. And I'm scraping everything off the sides. And I'm just stirring, not fast. So, just gonna stir. Make sure you're scraping the bottom and you're getting resin off the sides. And you're going to, I have a timer on my TV, so not a timer, a clock. So then I'm going to scrape this off my stirrer and bring it back down into the resin. I want to make sure that I get everything off the sides because we don't want unmixed resin. And even if you use an electric stirrer, you still have to stir your resin because it doesn't get everything off the side of the cup and it doesn't get everything off the bottom either. So one thing that I've been seeing going around is people are having issues with fast cure. what is fast cure? What does that mean? Well, it can happen for a couple reasons, actually quite a few reasons. But one of the biggest reasons is because you poured thinking that you have 45-minute work time, but you've actually poured a quick, here it says, a quick coat resin, which gives you very little. You have like 10 to 20 minutes before it starts reacting and hardening. So that's usually the culprit, is people think that they have a long time to work with those products, and they take their time deciding, oh, do I want to use this? Do I want to use this powder? Do I want to use this transparent? What colors do I want to use? And they don't have their cups laid out. They don't have their materials. So if you are going to use a quick coat or a fast cure, make sure that you know in your mind what project you want to do, and you have your cups laid out. So when you finish mixing, you can pour in your cups. I would even already have my additive in the cup. So when you pour it in the cup, all you have to do is stir and then pour onto your project. That will save you a lot of time doing that. So that's a quick little tip if you're going to be using quick coat or fast cure resin. Now, the other reason that it happens is because if I filled up this whole cup to mix together and left it in this cup, what's going to happen is the molecules from part A and part B are going to start reacting. Because think of it this way, if you go to a high school dance, it's full of teenagers with raging hormones. There's a whole bunch of them packed together in one location. They start dancing, things start heating up. So what do? You separate them into smaller groups, right? You take 20 kids, put them in here. 20 kids, put them in here. It's easier to chaperone these groups than it is a whole gym of teenagers. So put them out into different groups and chaperone them. That's how you avoid fast cure when you have a lot of resin in your cup. So that's why I have cups laid out. I'm going to pour just a little bit of resin into each cup so I can show you the additives and, you know, what is what, how it looks, how it reacts, how it works, if it's opaque, if it's transparent, if you can use it in regular resin, if you can use it in a UV resin, because you never want, and I can tell you from experience, micas will not go in UV. You're gonna have issues if you try to put mica in UV resin. I learned that the hard way. All right, so I didn't heat up any of this resin. That's a tip you can do for bubbles. You can see that it's not clumpy anymore. It's pretty clear. This is good. So I'm just gonna pour a little in each cup, and then we're gonna talk about additives. So there's different additives that you can choose and use. You can use mica powders, which come in a variety of different things. You can get them shimmery, you can get it plain. Then we have resin paste, which is great for geodes or any of your work that you're going to do on a canvas. We have alcohol inks, which are great for Petri dishes and your blooms. We have regular ink. I'm just going to divvy this out some more. All right, so I'm going to leave this little bit left to the side in case I need it for something else. But this I want to save for last because I'm going to show you a trick using paste. Let's start with, this is a mica powder. And this one actually blends very, very well. I'm gonna snap these. Snap these. All I'm doing is taking wooden sticks and snapping them in half for my little cups, okay? That's what I'm doing with that. And I also have an acrylic stirrer that the girl that makes my acrylic cutouts for my coasters that you guys have seen, the Bigfoot one and the one that I do my alcohol ink on. Where is my dolphins are hiding somewhere. Anyway, they also make stirrers like this out of acrylic. It's got paper backing on it, so you can stir it, wipe it down. It's good for another time. If you get too much on it, you can peel the backing off and you just have the acrylic stick. Just clean it every time. Good. You can use it over and over again. All right, so let's, I'm gonna leave those two. Let's put some mica. And it doesn't take a lot. So you see, this is what I'm putting in. I'm gonna put it in there. I'm gonna put my stirrer in there. I'm gonna put my lid back on. And you can see how fast it blends and melts into the resin. Now with mica powder, you have to make sure that you stir it completely because it will clump up and leave lumps in your resin if it's not mixed thoroughly, which I'm trying to mix so y'all can see, and I'm trying to make sure that it's mixed good. Okay, so what does mica do? You see the striations in there? First of all, let's talk about mica powder is not transparent. You can't see my stick through this mica, which means that if you try to use this in UV, the light can't get through to cure the resin. And it's gonna bubble up, it's gonna be all juicy, it's gonna like get ogre-y. You don't want that. So, don't use mica with UV. That's the first thing. Now, you see how it moves around, it's got all kinds of swirls and stuff in it. See when I stir it in the cup? Mica powder moves to the center of your piece. So, if we pour mica powder in this tray, mica's gonna move to the center. So you're gonna see striation marks. That's a good way to tell that they've used mica in their design. If you see a piece that has, where it's all striating, there's lines coming to the center of the piece. That's what mica does. If you put it in a bookmark, or I can use this. If you put it in this, anything that's rectangular, anything like that, it's gonna come to the middle. So you'll usually see in bookmarks a line down the center of the bookmark. That means they use mica because it's all coming to the center of the piece. So that's some telltale sign for mica. That's what mica looks like. That's what it does. This is a beautiful color. I love this. Okay, so that's our mica. Now let's talk about transparent and tints. These will never, ever, ever, ever get opaque. I don't care if you use all the bottles, it's not gonna be opaque. It's always gonna be transparent. You see people, and I'm just adding some drops. This is an amber. I use this, I make like an antique. If you're my age in your 50s, your grandmother's had a lot of amber candy dishes and things like that. I use this color to replicate a candy dish that my grandmother had. So it's like that old time butterscotch color. That really looks good. I think I'll put 3 drops on here, but as you can see, it is transparent. You can see right through it. And it doesn't matter how much you add, it's always gonna be transparent. So this is why people use this transparent for their ocean scenes, so you can see the bottom of their piece like it's the ocean floor. Now, if they move out into, say we wanted to do an ocean on this, we put sand here, we want a lighter color here to differentiate shallow end to the deep, dark waters in the very off distance. Up here, they may not use a transparent, they may use a solid blue to show and signify that deep water that you can't see through. You can't see the bottom if you're in the deep, right? That's what that signifies. Then you get lighter here because it's starting to get more shallow. And when you get here to your sand line, it's really light. Okay, so transparent and tint. That's what that does. You'll never, ever, ever not be able to see through it, okay? UV resin, always use transparent colors. You'll be good, you won't have a problem with it setting up. Now, let's talk about alcohol ink for a minute. This is Pinata, and we're gonna talk about some Pinata white at the end when I finish this, because I want to talk about blooms and Petris and sinker whites and all this, because people are having a lot of questions about that too. So this is a black alcohol ink. This is great. Well, if I could open it, then we try. Well, dagnabbit. Okay, so I guess we're going to use the Pinata white. This is also an alcohol ink, Blanco Blanco. This is the alcohol ink that you want to use in your blooms and you want to use in your Petri Effect pieces. Let's Resin has an alcohol white that they have in parentheses. You can see it says sinker white. So when people talk about sinker white, use a sinker white, it is alcohol ink that has a little bit of paste in it, white paste, that's going to weigh it down and make it sink so you can do your designs and you get those cool effects. So that's what that is. We're just going to put some in here. All right, I don't even know how many I put in there. So that's your white. Okay, so you see how it's floating to the top? Alcohol inks float to the top. They hang out up here, not very much down on the bottom in your resin. So alcohol ink is mainly used when you pour resin, clear resin, you use alcohol inks to add your color for your blooms, for your Petri. That's mainly what alcohol inks are good for, okay? So, stir and stir. It's gonna mix, but it's gonna be like a milky color because it has the alcohol in it. It makes the ink light. So this is different than a paste. And I'll show you the difference when I get to that in a minute. Now, here, well, I already did the mica. I'm not gonna do that again. That's just a different mica. Here is a paste. See how it's liquid? Always, 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 before you use your paste, stir whatever in the jar to mix everything up. Because sometimes it'll separate a little bit, like if you had olive oil or something in something, and it rises, it floats. So you want to mix everything to make sure it's combined. But this, I'm telling you, you're going to be shocked because it melts in resin like butter. And let me get my handy dandy whites. I always keep, well, man, it's like Monday all over again. Here we go. I always keep baby wipes by when I do resin because it helps me clean off my sticks. All right, so I'm just gonna use this acrylic one. I'm going to stir the paste, make sure that it's all combined. I'm gonna wipe off, because I'm telling you, it does not take very much at all to color your resin. You see what's left on my stick? Hardly anything. Now, watch, I'm just gonna set it in there. I'm just gonna set it in. It's already combining. Ready? It's already combining. No lumps from powder. This is why a lot of people prefer paste, because you don't have to worry about lumps in your powder. Plus, I've found using paste, I have less bubble issues too. All right. This is a peacock green. Beautiful. Now this is a little transparent and I didn't even look to see when I grabbed this. All right, that's Color Obsession. So, see how it's light? Oh, goodness. All right, let me clean this off because I'm gonna add some more. I'm gonna make it darker. But I wanna clean off my stick first because I don't wanna dip my stick that's already been in resin back into my paste. That will set things askew. All right. So, I put some more on my stick. Gonna mix it in. Gonna make it darker. These are great. The pastes are great if you don't want your resin to move and react like the mica does. The mica will give you the striations and the movement in it. Paste will not. A lot of people use paste for geodes. See, now it's darker. Beautiful. Okay, so that's how paste works. Make sure you close your jar because you don't want that spilling out. All right, that's done. Now, I want to show you, this always gives me a problem opening. It's almost time. All right, gotta remove this. Dagnabbit, I should have opened this before I started. Hold on. So what do you think so far? Have you learned something new that you didn't know? There we go. Whew. All right, back at it. Have you learned something you didn't know? Is there a trick that I just told you about that you are like, wow, I didn't know that one? Did you like the kids at the high school dance? Came up with that yesterday. Somebody was talking about last year. And that was the best way I could find to describe it. So, again, we're using paste. So, let's take a bigger stick. I'm going to stir the paste to make sure that it's all incorporated, right? All right, that's a lot. So I'm gonna wipe it off. I try to wipe it on the underside and then I dip it in and turn it, okay? This is what I'm gonna use for my wipe. And again, melts right in, beautiful color. See that? That's opaque white. You can't see the stick through that, okay? So here's a trick for you. If you are pouring on a canvas, and I have mine here, put that paste away because I don't need it. If you're gonna pour on a canvas like this, okay? You can see I use some mica in here, I use some metallics in here, I use some darker colors in here, but I also used like a darker white. You see how that white is darker than what's next to it? Because you can use an opaque white for big white lines and depth through that, but you can also use a transparent white and it's going to give you that extra little bit of depth behind. So you see where the bright white is and the opaque white is, how that gives this a little more depth to the piece instead of just using like here, using just like bright white and it runs over, blows over a little bit of the blues. Up here, you see the bright white and the opaque white. So that's how I'm going to show you to do that. You make your opaque white, okay, super opaque. I'm going to wipe the stick off, and then I'm going to put the stick in this white, and I'm going to make it just opaque. I don't want it, I mean transparent. I don't want it. See how it's milky, like 2% milk? That's what you want. And I'm gonna leave that. I'm not gonna use this stick. I'm putting it back in there. And I'm gonna use a different stick now. This is what I want. 2% milk. And when you pour this, and I'll pour it in one of these and show you what I mean. So, let me get that cleared out. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna pour a base. And I want you to see this. I'm just gonna pour some of this just around in here, okay? Now, let's use some teal. Okay, I'm just gonna pour some teal around. Not very much. Now I'm gonna add my, get back here, my opaque white. Okay, and I don't, you can use a heat gun. I don't have mine right here, but you can see, you can even tilt it. Let it run. See the different effects that you're getting from that when you tilt it and just let it run? The different ways it all moves together, works together. And you can see the variations of white. You can see a transparent white, you can see the brighter whites, and how it affects resin. So that's a trick. If you want to add more depth to your pieces, that's how you do it. Now, I'm just gonna continue adding layers of this around until, okay, now my opaque white. And you gotta be careful because this white will take over. Where's my, I'm just gonna swirl it. I can swirl it like that. See what I'm doing? I'm not stirring it, I'm just swirling. Like that, okay? So, you see the different effects. Then I can tilt it again, bring it back, till I get some cool effects that I really like. And then what I would do is stretch some of this out. Well, I want to make sure my resin's all the way out to all the edges. Okay? I like this clear up here, so I'm just gonna leave it. So, I'm gonna let that dry, like that. I'm gonna set it aside, let it dry. In fact, let's do something crazy. Let's just do a push with the rest of this clear. See what happens. Why not? Why not? Just let it clear and see what it looks like. That's how we learn things. We just do it. Just do it. Like Nike. Just do it. So, I will take pictures of this. I will zoom in before I shut everything down. My alcohol. I'm going to spritz with alcohol to get rid of the bubbles. Now, here's a warning. If you did not watch my basic video about for beginners, if you use alcohol inks, do not, I repeat, do not use fire to get rid of bubbles. Because what's going to happen is something that is going to take your breath away, maybe make you pee your pants like I almost did. It's going to poof with fire because I use 99% alcohol. Anything 91%, really any kind of alcohol, I don't care. If you use alcohol, don't use fire, period. Because it's going to poof up on you, and if you have things around that are paper that can catch fire, it can be bad. So be mindful of that, please. Now, gonna let that sit, do its little thing. It's all good. Let's pour some mica in here. Oh, get that out. I'm gonna pour some mica because I want you to see how it moves around. And okay, that's done. And move that over here. All right, so put that in there, done. So I'm just gonna move my mica around in this mold. You see how it's all striated and it's all like doing its little thing? That's what mica does. It's fun to watch mica. I love it. But you see what I mean now. So you're not gonna have a pure straight color if you use mica. Plus, it's all gonna move to the middle, and I'm gonna have a line. When this cures, there's gonna be a line down the center of this because the mica always moves to the middle. That's what mica does. Has some eyeballs popping out there. Oh look, looks like Mars. No green Martian people, just some red dirt. Okay, so you see what I mean? Move it around. It's gonna do its little thing, but it's all gonna come to the center and there will be a line here. I will show you at the end. Pop, pop, pop. All right, wipe my glove. That's how mica does. I have, oh, my alcohol ink white. I don't have anything little. I don't think. Well, let's do this. I don't have my, oh yes I do. Let's just use this little mold. This is easier. Okay? So, lit the mold, lit the mold. Clear. Let's pour it here. Or this one. Alright. That one's done. Wipe my fingers off. Now, I want to use, what alcohol inks do I have sitting by? I'm going to use some alcohol inks. I'm going to move that out of the way. I'm going to move the tint and that. I'm going to push this so you can really see what I'm doing. Okay. Spritz alcohol. Spritz this with alcohol, pop the bubbles. All right, so what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna show you how you do a Petri effect. So you just put your alcohol inks in. They're gonna start doing their thing. And I sprayed it with alcohol on top, so it's not gonna cooperate because I was not thinking. What else? Yellow green, no, I don't want that. Ugh. Let's don't put that in there. Let's put, oh, here's sapphire blue. Let's add some more blue. Okay. And added aqua. I have some in needle droppers that I use. It's probably dried. Well, let's don't use purple then. Already used blue. Where is my pink? My pink has disappeared. So let's use cereal. Okay, we're just gonna do blue ones. That's good. No biggie. Now, I'm gonna take my Let's Resin Alcohol Ink, the one that says Sinker on it. I'm going to drop a bunch. Usually I do 1 for 1. Wherever I put color drops, I put white on top of it. But you see how it's starting to dance and do its little thing. Let's put some over here. Make sure it's out to the edge. There we go. And what I do is I set a timer for 45 minutes. I come back and I do my design. It doesn't always have to be, you know, that swirly. I'm adding a lot because I like a lot. I think the effect's cool. All right, so there you go. You see how it's dancing around and moving together. I let it have its alone time to dance and mingle and do whatever it wants to do. I come back in an hour, 45 minutes to an hour, and I'm gonna use, oh, where's my little pen? I have a little dotting tool that I use for my nails when I did nail stuff. And I use that, or you can use, if you have a silicone, which I do, that's just a pointer one, you can use that. And you don't have to start at the outside and swirl into the middle. You can do that, and that's what a lot of people do. But you can swirl in little curly cues. You can do a zigzag like a snake in there if you wanted to. It's all up to you. Whatever, you know, try different things out, see what you like, see what works best for you. But the most popular is to start at the outside and slowly move. Don't go all the way to the bottom. You don't want to touch the bottom, but just go, I would say, halfway in and slowly do your swirl. And when you get to the center, pull it up slowly, let that drip off in the center, and then pull it away. And you'll get wonderful results. Sometimes you can come back in 5 or 10 minutes, and if you have openings on the outside, you want to add some more alcohol ink to it, you can add more. Whatever you add though, make sure you add more sinker white. You can even at this point, and I'll show you, I'll do it in one of them. And this one, we'll add more alcohol on top of the white. You can layer multiple layers of color. However you want to do it, that's up to you. But if you put color in, you have to put white on top of it. So, more white. There we go. So remember, I added more white to this left one and more color to that one. So we'll see what happens with that. But for now, this, wow, it got dark all of a sudden. Guess we're expecting some rain. Sorry about the lighting. For now, we're gonna let that sit. And we'll come back and I'll show you how I swirl and what these are looking like, because these also, I'm gonna spray some more alcohol on it to pop those little bubbles. Let it do its thing. And I'll come back shortly and show you how we do this. But this is your look at how you add color to resin, the effects you'll get, what to use with UV, what not to use with UV, what's best for geodes. Remember, if you're gonna do a geode and you don't want your resin moving like mica does, then you wanna use a paste. That's what I found works best. Anyway, I will see you guys very soon and see what we're working with here. Until then, don't forget, hit that subscribe button so you don't miss any future videos. I'll see you soon. Ta-ta for now. All right, it is that time to stir our Petri dish. I'm gonna hold my phone so you can see. This one, I am just going to do an S. Slowly lift up I'm gonna wipe it off. I'll wipe it off on a baby wipe. This one, I'm going to swirl like we talked about. Not going all the way to the bottom. There you go. That's how we do that. That's where we're at with that one. Starting to close up. Some little bit of movement in the mica. And I poured an extra little heart. See y'all when they're done, y'all. Just want to touch base. You can see how the mica is moving toward the center, doing its little thing. There is a design we pushed. There are our Petri. There's a heart I made with leftover, and some pendants I made with leftover. I did not realize how long the first video was. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna make this part 1, and part 2 I will do tomorrow. Upload all the finished products from what we did today here. And I forgot some methods. The chameleon and holographic glitters, and how to put how to put glitter in your resin to make that an additive too. So tomorrow, part 2, all this finished. We're gonna talk about chameleon powders and holographic glitters. Beautiful. And we're gonna talk about how to add some glitter and make some fun. So sorry this is so long, didn't plan on it, but I'll see you tomorrow for part 2. Make sure you like, subscribe, comment below, and ring that bell so you won't miss when part 2 is uploaded. Until then, y'all have fun arting. Ta-ta for now.